Hey friends, this is Kind Body Basics. Let's get started. Today you're gonna need a blanket and a block. Now, we're also gonna do something later with the wall, but if you're not close to a wall or you don't have access to a wide expanse of a wall, you could still do it without the wall and it'll be fine. Let's get started from the ground up. So we're gonna focus on our feet and we're gonna take a lot of care and intention with how we set our feet. So we wanna find our feet pelvis width apart. So that's hip bones, not hip flesh. So you have to sense deeper than any lovable soft tissue to your bone structure. So then you also want to make sure that your feet are parallel. So if you drew an imaginary line from the center of the front of your ankle, right here, to the base of your second toe, that line on each foot, we want those lines to be parallel. Now, let's tune into our toes. I'm gonna do the motion of my toes with my fingers as well, just so that you have an added visual cue. And that might actually help you to move your toes better as well. So if you wanna do it with your hands too, you can, or you can just focus on your feet. It might help to look at your feet while you're doing this exercise so that you can really make that connection between your brain and your toes. So look down at your toes and we're gonna start by lifting the left big toe. Can you just lift your left big toe up off the ground? And you can put it back down and lift it up and put it back down a few times and look at how your toe, the direction that your toe points when you lift it up off the ground. Does your big toe lift straight up away from the ground? Does it angle over towards the pinky toe side of the foot? So take a look. Okay. So the left big toe, check. Let's do the right big toe. Look over at your right big toe. Just lift your right big toe up and down a few times. And now we're gonna toggle back and forth. So you can lift both big toes at the same time, which I'm pretending that that's my index finger. And then you'll put your big toes down and lift the other toes up. Okay, so lift the big toes. And again, you can look down, lift the big toes, put those down, and then lift the other toes, the rest of your four other toes, lift those up and then put them back down. Big toes, down, and then little toes, up and down. So keep toggling back and forth between your big toes and your littler toes. Can you get your pinky toe up off the ground too? Or does it want to stay a little closer to the ground? Just waking up the feet. I'm already feeling the muscles in my feet like they're getting a workout. They are starting to feel a little tired. Just continue toggling back and forth. Okay. And go ahead and relax your toes. Relax your feet. Let's go ahead and take a top of the foot stretch now. So I'm gonna turn sideways to show you, and if balance is an issue, you can always do this sitting in a chair, or you can hold on to a chair or the wall for support. So start by taking your right foot back behind you and curl your toes under. So the toenail side of my foot is on the ground. Now, if you feel a good stretch on the top of the foot or the front of the shin, hang out here, you're set. If you want more sensation, you have some options. One thing that you can do is to try dragging your foot forward isometrically towards the front of your mat. You can also try stepping your back foot back a little bit further, okay? And you can also play around with bending the back knee. So you have some options there. And let's go ahead and switch. Left foot steps back. Curl the toes under. Again, hold it onto a wall or a chair if you need some extra support. Check in. Is this good sensation or do we want more? If you want more, just isometrically drag your back foot towards the front of the mat. It's not actually gonna slide unless you wore socks on a hardwood floor. But if you're on a mat, your foot should stay put. Again, you can always take a bigger step. you can always bend that back knee to kind of play around with the sensation that you feel. Okay, go ahead and step your left foot forward again. We're gonna turn back to face you. We're gonna look back at our feet for another foot exercise. So this time we're gonna do arch lifts. That's what I call them. So if you imagine that my hand is my foot, an arch lift is when you squish your foot so that the ball of your foot and your heel, you drag them together and it lets your arch lift up. So go ahead and I'll turn sideways so that maybe you can see, but it's a very small movement. So I can relax my foot and then I can drag my heel towards the ball of my foot and the ball of my foot towards my heel. And it scrunches up and it lifts my arch away from the mat. And then I relax. So it's a squish and relax, arch lift and relax. And you can do that with one foot at a time or both feet at the same time. I like to do it with both feet at the same time because then we can move on after that, after just a few times. You don't have to do very many. Make sure you're letting yourself relax all the way in between each arch lift. Last one. Squish and relax. Okay, we're gonna do another top of the foot stretch. So I'm gonna turn this way this time. I'm gonna take my left foot back behind me, curl the toes under. While I'm here, I'm making sure that my ribs are not up. My ribs are nice and mellow. I can let my neck be long and reach up through my head. And switch. Again, of course, you can step your back foot further away from you. You can also do that isometric drag towards the front of the mat. You can also bend your knee, settling your ribs, settling shoulders, lengthening up through your head. Okay, and step your right foot forward. Now you're gonna need your blanket. So grab your blanket and we're gonna roll it up. Make a little blanket burrito or taquito, because taquitos are a little smaller. This feels like a thin burrito. Okay, so I put that down on the mat and I'm gonna step the ball of my left foot up onto the blanket and my heel is gonna stay on the ground. Okay, so now if you already feel a good stretch in the back of your heel, your ankle, your calf, then go ahead and stay here. But if you want a little bit more sensation, you're gonna slowly begin to step your right foot forward, bit by bit. So you might have your right foot on the blanket, you might have your right foot forward of the blanket, or it might be way back there behind. Just make sure that if balance is an issue, you're near a wall or a chair. And here, again, let's mellow the ribs. Let's keep the hips back over the heels. Take a nice breath. And let's switch. So step your right foot back, then step your left foot back. And then we're gonna put the right foot on the blanket roll, ball of the foot on the blanket roll, heel on the ground, and checking in. How's this feel? Do we need more? If we need more, we're gonna start stepping the left foot forward bit by bit. So your left foot might be in front of the blanket roll, it might be on the blanket roll, it might be behind the blanket roll. You listen to your calf and your lower leg and see what it wants. Again, you can hold on to the wall for balance, keeping the ribs mellowed down. We don't want them to be thrusting up. Great, start to step the left foot back and then the right foot back. Okay, you can move your blanket roll out of the way. And then come back to your feet pelvis width apart position where your feet are parallel again. Okay, so remember parallel, you could draw an imaginary line from the front of your ankle, the center of the front of your ankle, to the base of your second toe. And that's the line that you want to make parallel on your feet. So from here, we're gonna slowly start to lift the heels away from the ground. Now again, if balance is an issue, hold on to a chair, hold on to the wall, find something that's not moving to look at. And so we're gonna slowly start to lift the heels away from the ground, any amount, and then lowering back down with control. I just started to fall back down. So you wanna control that fall. And some things to think about. So you can look at your ankles as you're doing this. You can also practice this in front of a mirror. So you want to imagine that your ankle joint is riding an elevator straight up and straight back down. So it can be easy to lift your heels with a little bit less intention, and then your ankles go out side to side, like mine are right now. And it could also be easy to kind of like roll to the center of your foot, maybe, depending on what your habits are. But for the purposes of this today, let's be super intentional about letting our ankle joints ride the elevator straight up and down. And the elevator goes down slowly, okay? Some other things to watch out for. Now, if what I've given you to think about already is enough, cool, stick with that. But if you feel like you can manage that awareness of the elevator alignment point, then you can layer on some other awarenesses about your alignment. So one that I will offer you is your pelvis. Where is your pelvis? Are you lifting your heels up away from the ground by thrusting your pelvis forward? Can you keep your weight, your pelvis back over your heels so that you're really, really targeting the lower legs here? You can also consider your ribs, making sure that they're not flared outward. And last one. And relax. Ooh, my calves feel alive. So we're still in that pelvis width position of the feet. They're still parallel. Now, go ahead and bend your knees and let your knees come forward as far as they comfortably can go with your heels still on the ground. So from the side, it looks like this. We keep the heels on the ground and we just take the knees straight forward. So the knees are gonna go in front of the ankle, and that's okay, but we want the knees to stay straight over top of the ankle, tracking forward over the second toe, as opposed to coming in together or coming out, okay? So just bending the knees here, reaching down through the heels, and then maybe in this position, you can do an arch lift. You just try it out and see. Okay, and relax and stand back up. Take a breath in and out. Okay, now we're gonna squat a little bit differently. So I'm gonna turn sideways again to show you. So for that first squat, we took the knees really far forward. So for this squat, we're gonna keep our knees stacked over our ankles, or we're gonna try to. So that means that our hips are gonna have to go back. So I'm gonna reach my arms forward to counterbalance the backward motion of my pelvis. So here we go. Start to bend your knees and shift your pelvis back. So you can go as far down as you want. Maybe, don't go all the way down into a full squat. And then stand back up again. Okay, so the main idea here is knees over ankles, pelvis back. Reaching the pelvis back and then standing back up. Now again, maybe this is enough of alignment points for you to consider. If you feel like this is manageable and you would like to focus on some more things, there's some other alignment points that you can check in on. One, again, is the direction of your knees. So as you keep your knees over your ankles, you really want to make sure that they are vertically over your ankles, but also in this other plane of motion, you don't want your knees coming inward or moving outward. Just keep everything stacked down there. And then the last thing that I can offer you is to move with your breath. So that would look like inhale to bend your knees. Maybe feel your bottom, your glutes turning on. And then as you exhale, stand up. Inhale to squat. Exhale to stand up. Let's do a few more. Keeping the weight back in the hips. Last one. Inhale to squat. Exhale to stand. Great. Lower your arms. Take a breath in and out. Now, cross your arms in front of you so you're resting opposite hand to shoulder. And you can let your elbows relax and let your hands and forearms just rest against your chest. And let your chin drop down towards your chest. And then start to circle through the shoulders. So you're going to pretend like your legs and your pelvis are a really stable stem or trunk. Those are not moving, but your spine and your shoulders are making a big circle. And then reverse the direction. So that means you're leaning over to one side, you're leaning forward a bit, over to the other side, and you're even leaning back. But as you're leaning back, your pelvis isn't going forward. One more circle. And then come back upright. Now, uncross your hands so you have same hand on each shoulder, same side hand on shoulder. And this time, make circles with your elbows, saying hello to the shoulders. Make as big of circles as you can. And as you take the elbows up in your circle, notice if your ribs try to come too. Let your ribs stay put and just focus this motion on the shoulders. Reverse. And really trying to be intentional about getting as much range of motion here as possible. Big circles. For 3, 2, and 1. Relax your arms. We're going to come back to some squats. So I'm going to turn sideways again. Feet hip distance parallel, arms forward. Take a breath in, bend your knees and send your hips back. And then as you exhale, stand up. That's 10, 9. Inhale down, 8. Exhale up. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Inhale to squat. 2, exhale to stand. Last one. 1. Great. Okay, let's come back to the shoulders. So I wore just the perfect shirt for this to show you this shoulder blade movement. So I'm going to turn my back to you and you can watch my birds. So I'm going to put my right hand on my chest, either my upper chest or my lower ribs. And that's just to make sure that your chest is staying put, your ribs are staying put, and we're focusing on the arm and shoulder. So from here, I'm going to take my left arm out to the side with my wrist at shoulder height. And then watch the bird, watch my shoulder blade. I'm going to reach through my arm and hopefully the shoulder blade moves away from the spine a bit. And then I'm going to draw the shoulder blade back in towards the spine. So again, I'm going to reach as far away as I can. And then I'm gonna pull the shoulder blade back in towards the spine. So you wanna make sure that as you're doing this, it's not shoulder blade in and ribs go up, okay? We want the ribs to stay mellow and we're really just isolating at the shoulder blade, okay? So great to do if you've been holding your arms in one position for a long time, like at the keyboard, the computer, or driving. So then you can start to play around with the position that your arm is in. You can take your arm down to about 45 degrees. And same thing here, I'll turn around so you can watch my bird. You're gonna reach out through your arm, following that vector of the angle of your arm. Shoulder blade is moving away from the spine. And then you're gonna pull the shoulder blade back in. And as you pull the shoulder blade back in, the rib cage stays stable. So you can go as quickly with these or as slowly as you prefer. Whatever speed allows you to maintain your awareness. And then you go with the arm straight down. So again, you're gonna reach down through the vector that your arm has created, that vector line, and then you're gonna pull the shoulder blade back in towards the spine. So to show you what it looks like from this side, or from this angle, reaching through the hand, feeling the shoulder blade move away, and then pulling the shoulder blade back in towards the spine. And while doing so, the rib cage stays in a neutral position. Last one. And relax. Okay, take a moment to feel how your shoulders feel, how your upper back feels. One side feels a lot different and a lot happier, at least in my body, than the other. So let's make the other side happy. I'm gonna turn around again so you can watch the bird. So taking the right arm out to the side, I have my left hand as a reminder on my rib cage. My wrist is in a line with my shoulder. And so I'm gonna reach out through the arm, through the hand. And as I reach out, the shoulder blade's gonna move away from the spine. The bird is gonna fly out to the right. And then the shoulder blade's gonna squeeze in towards the spine. So reaching out and pulling in. So a really small movement, but a much needed movement. And again, you choose the tempo. As the shoulder blade comes in, make sure the ribs are staying in neutral, because that means that then you're really targeting your shoulder blade. If you're letting your ribs lift, then your shoulder blade's not doing as much work. Okay, let's drop it down to 45. And so again, you're gonna reach through the vector of your arm, reach through, and then pull the shoulder blade in towards the spine. Another thing to watch out for is this is a big movement in the back of your body. You want the shoulder blade to pull in towards the spine, but not up towards the ear. Okay, so keep your shoulder blade in that kind of, or keep your shoulder joint in that kind of depressed position away from your ear as you go. Now, arm straight down, reach down, feel your shoulder blade move away from your spine, and then draw your shoulder blade in towards the spine. So again, it's not up and down this way. It's a little bit more nuanced than that. And you can always kind of put a hand on your upper trapezius right here and see if it's scrunching or not, okay? I'll turn my back again so you can see. Reaching down, shoulder blade in. Last one. Great, relax. Shake out your arms. Give it all a shake. Okay, now let's bring it up to the neck and head. So from here, I want you to practice. You're gonna kind of give yourself a little bit of a turkey neck. It doesn't have to be a big one. It can be a little one. So what you're gonna do is you can imagine that you have maybe a collar and that someone is pulling the leash so that you're drawn to attention. So it's a backward movement of the head, but it's also kind of a ramped up movement of the head. You can also grab your ears and pull back. So again, at rest, I might look like this. And then to get my head into position would look like this. So there's a little bit of a tuck to the chin. It's not extreme, okay? But it's a back but up as well, okay? So you can practice that. And notice if when you try to take your head back, if your ribs try to help with that, can you keep your ribs where they are and just do your head? Okay, now we're gonna add a little touch. So you're gonna take your hands on your chest, your upper chest, and you're gonna push in and drag down. So you're not sliding over your shirt or over your skin. Your hands are pinning your tissue, your clothing and your tissue, pushing in and dragging down. So you should feel like you're tugging the skin down towards the ground. And then go ahead and do your head motion, do your head ramp. So just reaching the head back and up slightly. Almost as if you could make the letter J with your earlobe. Or maybe like the Nike swoosh. A letter J might be a little too extreme. Okay. So go ahead and relax. Now we're gonna do the same thing, but with the head turned to the side. So before we add the hands, turn your head to the left and practice that head ramp motion with your head turned this way. Okay, and then turn your head to the right and practice it. Okay, so when your head's turned to the left, you're moving your head back and to the right. Okay, you're pressing back diagonally to the right. So go ahead and pin your tissue on your upper chest, drag down, turn your head, and then move your head back, pressing the back of the head back. Okay, and let's go ahead and switch. So keep your hands on your upper chest and just turn your head to the right now. And from here, again, you're moving your head back and up a little bit. So it's that swoosh, Nike swoosh movement kind of. But because your head's turned, it's moving kind of back to the left. Ribs stay mellow. And release. Turn your head back to center. Relax your arms. Okay, keep your feet in your pelvis width position parallel. Keep your heels on the ground and bend your knees forward. Let your knees track straight out over your toes as far as you can go while still keeping your heels on the ground, and then straighten your legs. And one more time, slide your knees forward and straighten your legs. And one last set of squats now. So again, feet pelvis width apart. You can reach your hands forward. Inhale to squat down. So the hips go back. Exhale to stand up. That was 10. And here's 9. Inhale down. Exhale up. 8. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. And 1. Great job. You might need your blanket. We're going to come down to our knees. The blanket is optional if you want padding. And this is the part where you want to be a little bit closer to the wall. And I'm going to have my block close by as well. So starting in a kneeling position on the blanket, making sure that my pelvis is neutral. So that's pubic bone and hip bone vertical in a line. Okay, so you have to sense deeper than any lovable soft tissue, noticing where your bone structure is. So then, once you have your neutral pelvis, you're gonna step your right foot forward so that your right ankle is in front of your knee. Then, you can keep your hands on your hips if you want some tactile clues about what's going on in your pelvis. You're gonna shift your pelvis forward until you feel a good stretch, or if you notice that your pelvis has turned under or tilted forward and you've lost that neutral. So we want to keep that pelvic neutral. So go to your neutral. And then you can let the arms rise up while the ribs stay down. And here, we're going to lift the shoulder blades up towards the ears and let them release down. So we're not going to jam them down, just let them drop. So lift up towards the ears with the shoulder blades and then relax. Last one, keep the ribs down, just shrug and relax. Okay, bring your hands down and we're going to step the right foot back, or the right knee back to meet the left. And then we're going to take the left foot forward, neutral pelvis, starting with your ankle forward of your knee, okay? And then keeping neutral pelvis, start to lunge, shift forward, any amount. Ribs are staying mellow. And then reach your arms out as the ribs stay down. So your arms do not have to be in a line with your ears. Okay, your arms might be forward of your ears, and that's okay. You're gonna reach up, shrugging the shoulders, and relax. Keep the arms up. Reach up and relax. Last one, reach up and relax. Bring your arms down. Shift your hips back, take your left leg back, and here's where we're gonna get really close to the wall. So you can do this in the middle of the room without the wall and without the block, but you're gonna have to pay attention and be honest with yourself. So I'm gonna scoot my blanket a little bit closer. Now I'm gonna put the block in between my left hip and the wall. I'm gonna sandwich it in there, just like this. And that's gonna keep me honest. And I'm gonna make sure that my left knee is directly under my left hip. Okay, then keeping it there, get your other leg out. So I'm just here at 90 and 90. 90 degrees in the knees, okay? It's not a super big lunge. And then I'm gonna take my arms out in front and touch my palms together. So from here, you're gonna take your left arm and lift it up, and you're gonna paint a rainbow with your left arm. And as your arm comes more up to vertical, that's when you're gonna start to twist towards the wall, like you wanna give the wall a big hug. And then again, you're gonna take your left arm up and back forward, okay? So do that a few more times, and I just wanna show what it would look like if you were away from the wall. So you would still be in your 90 and 90 leg position, but you really have to pretend like the wall is there. Okay, so that's what it would look like. Let's do one more. Hopefully you continued doing those while I was demoing the other option. Okay, here we go. Paint a rainbow. My daughter would love it if I actually painted a rainbow on this wall. Okay, and release. So we're gonna turn around, hold your block to do the other side. Okay, so pinning the block between my outer hip, my outer right hip and the wall, and I'm making sure that my right hip is stacked over my right knee. Okay, so I've got my hands out in front and my legs are working really hard to stabilize me right here. So I'm gonna take my right arm up and paint a rainbow, and as my right arm gets a little bit more vertical, I start to twist towards the wall and then erase the rainbow. And I paint another rainbow and unpaint the rainbow. So again, you can do this in the middle of the room away from the wall. Last one. Okay, and relax. Get that block out of the way. And we're gonna come down to our knees again, but to our forearms as well. Okay, so here, putting your forearms on the ground, I have to adjust my wardrobe first. Putting your forearms on the ground, go ahead and make sure that your elbows are directly underneath your shoulders and that your forearms are parallel like railroad tracks. And try putting all of your fingernails onto the mat. And see if you can keep pressing your fingernails into the mat as you start to take your shoulders back and your hips start to shift back any amount. They might not go very far. You might feel, my arms are shaking. My hands are shaking. It's hard work. And then bring your shoulders forward again. And you can kind of floss in and out of that position. And the fingernails are gonna try to peel up away from the ground, but don't you let them. Check in with neck tension, stay relaxed there. One more floss. Okay, now staying here, flip your palms to face down. And so now you're gonna keep your forearms parallel like railroad tracks, but you're gonna keep your fingers, all 10 fingers long and strong on the ground. And again, gonna floss. So you can just pay attention and notice do I have more space to move when my palms are facing down or when my palms are facing up? And just shifting shoulders forward and back, remembering to check in with your neck, keep your neck loose. Soften your jaw. Last one. Okay, so set yourself up. You can get your blanket out of the way. Just sit on your bottom. Have your knees bent and your feet on the ground in front of you. I have my hands behind me, my fingertips on the ground. And then from here, just gonna windshield wiper the knees. See if you can get knees to the ground, or like this knee is touching the other foot's heel, okay? And just back and forth. So we're taking one leg into external rotation while the other leg is in internal rotation. And now that you've seen that, I'm gonna keep going, but I'm gonna turn sideways so that I'm ready for the next thing. Are you ready to have some fun? But haven't you been having fun this whole time? Really now. So you can stop your windshields with your legs and take your hands behind your back. Now, you have options. You can do this with your fingers pointing towards your pelvis. You can also try it with your fingers pointing out, with your hands turned out. It is your call, whatever you want to do. So let's begin by taking a breath in to prepare, and then when you exhale, you're gonna lift your hips away from the ground any amount. So your hips might feel like a little heavier down here, or you might be in more of a kind of a reverse table position here. Wherever you choose to be, we're gonna rock forward and back. So testing out the limits here in our wrists and our shoulders. Just seeing how it goes. And then go ahead and release your hips down somewhere in the middle. And then put your toe tips on the ground in front of you. Check in with your rib cage. Make sure you're not here. You want mellow, neutral ribs. And then you can play around with reaching one hand forward and the other hand forward. So maybe you stay here, kind of rocked just behind your sit bones. That's the part of my body that's on the ground. My shoulders are soft. I'm trying to release tension from my neck. So if this feels easy, go ahead and touch your feet together. Maybe you can bring your knees together. Maybe you can lift your feet up. As you lifted your feet up, did your ribs lift up too? Can you keep your ribs in neutral mellow? Mellow neutral, neutral mellow. I bet if I tried to say that 10 times fast, it would be a disaster. Keep breathing. You've got this. For 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and release your legs down. Sit back upright. And then from here, go ahead and grab your blanket or your block or both. We're gonna sit with the legs crossed. So when you sit with your legs crossed, if you feel like your knees are like all the way up at your ears, then you need to sit up higher. So on a second block or a stack of blankets or a stack of pillows, whatever you need to do. And then you're just gonna cross your legs and notice what position your shins are in. So do you have your shins more parallel to the front of your mat, or are your shins closer back towards your pelvis? So all of those are healthy loads. So let's go ahead and start with the feet and the shins closer back towards the pelvis, as close as feels comfortable, because of course you don't want your knees or your ankles or your feet to be griping at you. So taking a few moments here, and then scoot your shins and your feet forward so your shins are more parallel to the front of the mat, and see how that's a little bit different for your hips. Let's pause here for a breath. Now, you can look and see which shin is in front and switch the cross to the weird way. Okay, so right now the shins are still further away from the pelvis, towards the edge of the mat, towards parallel to the edge of the mat. And then you can pull them in. Notice which ones your body prefers. And again, take a breath. Okay, now I'm gonna let you put your legs in the most comfortable cross-legged position. And if you are like, Jen, there is no comfortable cross-legged position for me at this point in time, I just hope you know that it is at this point in time, and that things can change, that our bodies can change. So wherever you are, have compassion for your body in this moment and choose a comfortable sitting position. Okay, now if it feels difficult to hold your spine in this upright position, you can feel free to scooch back up against the wall, but be honest and be tall. So we're gonna close our eyes, and I just rest my hands on my knees for a comfortable position here, whatever is comfortable for your arms. You might feel better kind of crossing your hands in your lap, whatever is most comfortable, whatever feels easy and nurturing. So the eyes are softly closed, and you soften your jaw and let your tongue relax down to the bottom of your mouth. And we've taken away the sense of sight by closing the eyes. So now, can you tune in to your sense of hearing? What do you hear in this moment? Keep your body relaxed and notice the sounds that you hear in this moment. Now shift your attention to your sense of smell. As you breathe in and out through your nose, are you aware of any scent? Keep your body relaxed and stay aware for any scents. Now bring your attention to your hands and to your fingers and your sense of touch. Be aware and receive that input from your hands. Be aware of your sense of touch. What do you feel with your hands in whatever position they are? Just be aware and feel as your body relaxes. And then from here, we'll finish up by tucking the chin down towards the chest. Maybe feeling some stretch on the back of the neck. Maybe stretching the neck and head here in a way that feels good. So if you want to rock your head a little bit from side to side. And while your head is in this tucked position, go ahead and flutter your eyes open and take in that sight. And then slowly lift your head up. Thank you so much for taking the time for this Kind Body Basics class. I hope you feel great, and I'll see you next time.